Hey, it's Monica B. Have you ever wondered how much water am I supposed to be drinking every day? You've heard people say you're supposed to drink 8 glasses of water. You've heard probably for weight loss, you're supposed to drink a bunch of water before your meal so that you don't feel as hungry. If you ever heard of that. Sometimes we're told that we're supposed to drink, you divide half of your body weight and turn that into ounces and then multiply that by something. And that's how much water you should drink. In Ayurveda, drinking water is as unique as it is to our individual selves. So I want to talk about water today. We drink water all the time. Has anybody ever wondered, how much water am I supposed to be drinking? Hi, Diane. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So let's talk about that today. What does Ayurveda say about water? I'm Monica Bloom, creator of HeyMonicaB.com and author of In Your Elements, a blooming Ayurvedic guide to creating your best life. So first of all, Ayurveda talks about the amount of water we should be drinking. How much water? Well, it depends per your dosha. Vatas, you would think would need a lot of water. So they tend to be very dry. So water is great for Vata, but along with the water's not just gonna solve their dryness on their own. So Vatas need a healthy amount of water, but they also need a healthy amount of oils. Think about this, and you're like, why? But water's hydrating. It is hydrating, but think about this. If you do something with your hands in water for a long time, like let's say you're washing dishes for a long time or doing something with you wash your hands a lot, your hands get very dry. And so for Vatas, because they have a dry constitution, they will need a healthy amount of water, but they can't also forget a little bit of oils for that. Hi, Sage Marie. Hi, John Cowles. Glad you're here. Okay, so Vatas need a good amount of water. The dosha that needs the most water is Pitta. And you say, why? Because Pittas are hot. And when something gets heated, it gets drier faster, right? And when something is heated, when our bodies are hot, we sweat and we lose water. So Pittas are likely going to be the dosha that needs the most water. Hi, Archana. Good to see you. Pittas need the most water because they're constantly getting rid of that heat and that sweat and sweating out excess water. Plus they've got heat in them, which is drying up the water. In case you didn't catch my drift here, we want to prevent the body from drying out in Ayurveda. That is one of the main categories of how we can get diseased in the first place. So we don't want the body to dry out. We want it to stay nice and supple, oily, and hydrated. But Pittas are slightly oily. So they actually don't need as much of the oily factor as Vata does because they have a little bit of oily in them as well. Let's move to Kapha. Kaphas probably need the least amount of water. They are made of water, right? So Kapha, if you look at the great elements, Kaphas are made of water and earth. Pittas are made of water and fire. Vatas are made of air and space. And so Vatas have no water in them at all. Pittas have a little, Kaphas have a lot. So Kapha type people might feel actually a little bit like waterlogged and heavy if they drink too much water. They actually don't need as much. So all of these rules about drinking a certain amount of day and, dividing your body weight and changing it into ounces, and that's how much water you should drink a day. It's really more about your dosha or your main doshas and what those elements are. Also think about the season. We're about ready to go into Pitta season now. It's like knocking on the door. And so we might feel a little bit more thirsty because we're starting to get warmer. We're starting to perspire a little bit more. So also take the season into consideration when drinking water. Now, one thing I do want to address is when I've heard, like a long time ago, I heard, well, if you want to lose weight, you're supposed to drink a bunch of water before your meal so that you actually don't feel hungry, so that you don't eat as much food. And I'm like, first, we're supposed to feel hungry before our meals. Can we all champion that? Can we all say like, yay for hunger? My body is working and it's giving me the signal to eat. That is like golden. So be thankful for your hunger. The second thing is if we put a bunch of water on that hunger is our digestive fire that's saying, hey, feed me. I'm ready for food. I'm fire. I'm ready to digest. And if we put a bunch of water on it, it's gonna go out. Now, Agni doesn't really go all the way out, but it gets dampened. It gets smaller. You extinguish it a bit more. We want a nice, strong fire when we eat food. So the best practice is to have little sips of water as you eat your food, leaving space, not stuffing ourselves so full, but we want to leave space for movement. So leave some space in there and leave some space for water. And then the majority should be food, if that makes sense. Kind of interesting way to think about water, isn't it? So also, Ayurveda does not recommend ice in water. However, there might be certain times where it's actually appropriate. If it's very, very hot outside and you're a very, very fit person and you need to get cool quickly, you could have a very cool drink, perhaps some ice. But the problem with that is it shocks the body and constricts the body. We want the body to accept that water as nice hydration, not have it go, ooh, that was cold. Right? So we want to keep the ice to a minimum, if at all, and drink more room temperature. And pitta is totally cool, haha, in summer if you want to have cool water. That is absolutely fine. Some people might be wondering, Monica B, what about bubble water? I drink bubble water all the time and I love it. It makes me so happy. And let's talk about bubble water. Is it just flat water that's in bubble water? No. What's in bubble water? Bubbles! Which way do the bubbles go? They go up. Which way do we want our digestion to go? We want it to go down. And so we have bubble water because it's awesome, but think that it's not doing the same action that regular flat water does, because you're introducing all of these bubbles which have air and space in them, and they go up this way. It can cause hiccups. It can cause distension and gases, bloaties. We might not even thinking about that with bubble water. We just think it's really yummy and kind of fun and tasty. But just be mindful that when you drink bubble water, you're going to have to compensate with some extra flat water, even better, warm water, so we can calm all of that down, or just avoid it if you're having digestive problems. If food feels like it's coming the wrong way, like you're getting burp ups, like I said, if your digestion's not working properly, take a look and see if you're drinking maybe a little bit much bubble water. That is the story. So, yes, Sage Marie says ice makes me gunky. Right, because it can constrict and it can hamper the flow. Our bodies want to stay warm and squishy and flowing, right? And so all of the way we drink our water will help to promote that. We also want to promote good digestive fire, because as we know, most of diseases caused by malfunctioning digestive fire. So we want to make sure that we're using our water appropriately so we don't dampen it and put it out. So best rule of thumb, if you're unsure, scratching your head, you're like, I'm not really sure what my dosha is, or maybe this is a little bit confusing. Just do this. Don't drink a whole ton of water with your meals. Avoid ice. And a great time to drink water is in between meals, like when you feel like your food has mostly digested, and of course after exercise, when you've sweated a lot and you need to replenish that water. So I hope that helps you. Tracy asks a question: can too much water dampen Agni? Yes. It totally can dampen Agni. So we have to be mindful that we're drinking water at the right times. And also not a whole ton of water, maybe right before bed or right at dinner time either, because Agni then is extra small, all right? It is also getting to rest and take it easy for the evening. Great time to hydrate is first thing in the morning on an empty stomach when there's nothing else in there. I know a lot of you do this already, but just have some awesome water, room temperature, nothing fancy, go for it, and you'll already feel a little more alivened and not like a droopy basil plant that's begging for water. Think about that. Next time you feel cranky, next time you feel sad, depressed, moody, any of those things, check your water intake and say, did I have enough today? Because we do really turn into droopy, sad basil plants. Thank goodness for basil's emotions, by the way, because I always forget to water it until it's droopy. Mind your droopiness and drink some nice water then. So, Tracy asks, well, sometimes water doesn't feel like it's hydrating the colon, fixes for that. Tracy, you might have missed the beginning where I said Vatas also need oils with their water, in their diet, because water for Vata is not enough. Water is drying. but it's not necessarily nourishing, hydrating for the long term for vatas, and they tend to be very dry. So I hope this helps you. Does anybody else have questions? You can chat them below. I'm glad you're here with me today. Also, think about something you might want to learn in one of these. What does Ayurveda say about? I don't know. Go ahead and chat below. Give me some ideas. Give me some comments. I know, Tracy. I know you're a Vata. You did miss it. I know you. I love you. Thank you for being here. If this served you today, if you learned a little bit more about how to use water to better serve yourself and your doshas, like it, share it with your friends. We're building a community around this, and we're doing educational learning so we can live our lives better and keep bringing Ayurveda to life. I'll see you next week on Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific. Mwah.